Yo, what is up guys, it's Ryan and back with another video. Today we're going to be discussing Orion, the B&M Giga Coaster at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. Orion is the 6th and newest Giga Coaster in the world, and in order to be named a Giga Coaster, you must have a height or drop of within 300 and 400 feet. Of the 78 coasters I've been on so far, Orion is definitely one of the best coasters out there, and I can't wait to dive into this review. Before we start talking about the ride experience and theme, let's get into the stats. Orion has a track length of 5,321 feet, a maximum height of 287 feet, a 300-foot drop at 85 degrees, a top speed of 91 miles per hour, and a duration of 3 minutes even. Sadly, there is a debate going on in the coaster community on whether or not this actually is a Giga Coaster, believe it or not. Many enthusiasts will claim, since the height of the ride does not exceed 300 feet, that it technically is not a Giga Coaster. Personally, I don't care if it's a Giga Coaster or not. This ride kicks butt. First off, Orion has one of the coolest and most interesting themes at Kings Island. Its theme traces to Kings Island rides both past and present. For example, Son of Beast, Firehawk, Adventure Express, Flight of Fear, Mystic Timbers, etc. If you're someone like me who doesn't understand all those little teasers and how those rides connect with their theming and history, then don't feel ashamed, because it is very complicated to pick up on. So I guess you can call that complicated theming bonus theming, because there's also a lot of basic theming that I do really like about this ride. The basic theming is that you're going on a mission to space, and your space shuttle is Orion, and you're on the Orion sequence, which is their mission name for you. And while you're in line, there's actually a little TV screen above a desk with blueprints, and it's got all sorts of astronaut gear and all sorts of space theme and plans, and you're literally being briefed on your mission while you're in line for the ride. It is definitely one of the coolest themes I've ever seen, and I love all those posters in the backgrounds. It's just awesome. I mean, it's definitely a step up from a lot of what I've seen in Kings Island's history, and I'm super impressed by it. When you get to the key points in the key line that are themed, and you're in the station, that IMA score starts playing in the background. Oh my gosh, does it really send you in the mood, because it is definitely one of the coolest scores I've ever heard. Like, I would almost slap that in a movie. It's definitely awesome. Now let's get into the ride experience. You start out cresting up the 287-foot lift hill, and man, does it give you a good view or what? Most people don't look out to the left, but if you do look out to the left, you can see where Firehawk used to be, and you can see a little bit of stuff that Kings Island's got laying out in their scrap yards. But most people are going to look out to the right, and they're going to see all of the park. If you look forward a bit, you can see towards Beast. If you look directly to the right, you're going to see towards Diamondback and Rivertown. And if you look towards your back a little bit, you're going to see Banshee, and heck, you can even see the tennis stadium from across the street. There's plenty of trees and houses you can look at. It's just a beautiful view from up there. Once you get up to the top, you obviously go down the drop. And that is one of the greatest drops I've ever been on. Definitely in the top 10 drops of the 78 coasters I've done. It's smooth, it's fun, it's fast, and it feels like you're just free falling forever. It doesn't matter if you're in the front or the back. That drop is awesome. But they are two different experiences. If you're in the front, you're going to fall on your restraint, and it's going to feel like you're literally just resting on your restraint for a split second before you go down that drop, because the rest of the train is obviously catching up, cresting over that drop. And man, when you're at 287 feet, that slight fall to your restraint does not feel subtle. It is a very thrilling experience, and I love it. When you're in the back seat, however, it is the total opposite. Obviously, since your end of the train is cresting last, you're going to whip over that drop, and you're going to catch some of the most insane floater airtime you've ever experienced in your life. And you're going to sustain that floater airtime until you crest that hill at the bottom. Next, you're sent into a 174-foot wave turn that's banked to the left. A lot of coaster enthusiasts were disappointed by this wave turn, and to an extent, I can understand. But I, however, was not disappointed, because it's still a very fun element. You get whipped to your side, and sometimes when you're sitting in the back, if it's running fast enough, you'll catch a little pop of airtime. But if it's running really fast on a really good day, It always runs fast, but if it's running on a really good day, you will literally gray out on that wave turn as well as the bottom of that drop. So you don't lose your intensity there. It's still a really awesome, smooth element, and I really enjoy it. It's just a speed element. That's what this coaster is about, speed. That wave turn feels about just the same in every seat. It doesn't matter where you really sit for that one. Then you get sent into a 202-foot in-bank turnaround. Here's another element that a lot of the coaster enthusiasts really bash, and I don't see the hate for it. They say that it was slow and forceless, yet every ride I had on it, it was forceful, and half the time I grayed out going in it. And I think it does a pretty good job maintaining its speed throughout that turnaround, and then sending you into that speed hill. Now once you hit that speed hill, that's when the ride gets real fun. If you have not rode Orion and you are a fan of airtime, this coaster is a dream come true. That speed hill is executed so well, it doesn't matter how good or bad the ride is running, it doesn't matter what seat you're sitting in, it doesn't matter how much space you have in your restraint. You are going to get launched. Literally launched into space. Like, that might have been the whole point of the Orion theme, was just for that speed hill, because it was insanely good. And it still is. I am so grateful that I get an element like that in my home park. That speed hill alone is worth riding this coaster. After that little 56-foot speed hill of perfection, you then shoot back up to a 147-foot trimmed airtime hill. Now let me talk about this trimmed airtime hill a little bit. Again, another element that the coaster enthusiasts tend to hate on, that I disagree with, is this airtime hill. Most coaster enthusiasts tend to have a bad habit of wanting rides to run at their maximum potential, and as a coaster enthusiast myself, I can understand why they would want that. It creates a more intense ride, and it just draws out the elements more, and it makes them more forceful to give you more airtime, more gray out moments, and more speed. So who wouldn't want that, right? Well, the people who wouldn't want it to run that way are called your general public. And your general public make up more than 90% of your daily attendance at these parks. Not to mention, it's probably for rider safety that they put a trim brake on that airtime hill, because you'd be flying over it and then going into that Helix at an insanely fast speed. So they probably don't want that to happen. Plus, another factor is when you go into that element like that many times at that ridiculous of a speed, you're going to put wear and tear on the trains, and it's going to be a maintenance nightmare to keep up with. 99% of your general public is going to barely have the courage to ride this thing in general. So it's probably for the common interest of everyone that they keep it at a moderate speed most of the time. Most of your general public will probably get off a ride if it ran that intense and say, "That's too crazy, I'm never doing that again in my life." However, with it running at this moderate speed, it's probably safe to assume that they're likely going to re-ride this thing over and over again. And they have the right to marathon coasters just as much as us coaster enthusiasts. That element, either way, it's still very awesome. To be honest, my best way of describing it is it feels just as fast as that first speed hill until you start hitting the trims. But it's kind of an interesting experience, because when you go into it, you think you're going to hit a major ejector moment like the speed hill, but in all honesty, because you hit the trims, it turns into a giant floater moment. But it's really good quality sustained floater air. So again, I don't see the complaints here from another coaster enthusiast on how it cannot be good enough. That is an awesome element. These are awesome back-to-back elements. I think people like to overanalyze things a little bit and think a little too extremely in terms of how a coaster enthusiast thinks a coaster should run versus how good it just plainly is. Okay, so maybe I went on just a little bit of a rant there on coaster enthusiasts being too harsh on coasters sometimes. However, I do think it is a valid statement for Orion, and I will talk more about that when I finish giving the experience of the layout. Next, you're sent into a 125-foot in-banked upward helix to the right. Man, that is one of the most intense elements you could stick on a roller coaster. Even though it is a single helix, it is super duper intense. Like, even with the trims on that previous hill, You fly into that, and 99% of the time, no matter where you're sitting, you will gray out. In my personal experience, I've grayed out a little bit more in the front seats, believe it or not. But it really doesn't matter. You're going to gray out anywhere, and it is an awesome element. Next, you're sent into a little transition that takes you from the Helix into this little airtime hill. And when I say little airtime hill, I mean it looks like it's just a little hill that would take you into the brake run, but no. This thing gives the most insane ejector air I've ever felt in my life, especially in the back seat. If you're sitting in the back right, since the airtime hill is leaned towards the left and it crests out to the right, the person on the right is going to receive more ejector than the person on the left, surprisingly. And it is incredible. It's like so unexpected. I was expecting it just to be a slow little airtime hill, go into this little apex, and then crash into the brake run. But no, it literally bucks you. It is just as good, if not better, than the speed hill. So there's two insanely good ejector moments on this ride, which is very rare to find on a B&M like this, at least from the experience I've been given with B&Ms. There is no room for debate. I'm pretty sure anyone for the most part would agree with me that when you hit that element specifically, it's a backseat ride all the way. That element kicks butt in the back seat. Once you escape that quote-unquote little airtime hill, then you get sent to an apex, and then you get sent into the brakes. And when you hit the brakes, you're going uphill, so it kind of feels like half an ejector airtime hill. It's just a little pop, nothing crazy, but it's still pretty cool that there's a pop of airtime when you hit the brake run as well. So overall, what do I think of Orion? Honestly, I think this ride is almost perfect. The only thing that would make it absolutely perfect is if it had a slightly longer layout. I do kind of wish it had a few more elements just to increase the duration so the fun would last a little longer. But basically, what I'm saying by that isn't that if you made the ride longer, it would make it better. What I'm saying is the ride is so perfect, I wish it lasted longer. And if I wish a ride would last longer, you've done a really, really good job designing a roller coaster. As I stated earlier, I think a lot of coaster enthusiasts really critiqued this ride a little bit too hard. As another coaster enthusiast, I can understand where they're coming from. It's very easy to get caught up in your emotions and want rides to run extremely fast and just as insane as possible. Every roller coaster has to be the most insane ride on planet Earth. But I don't think that's what Kings Island was trying to accomplish with this coaster, as I said earlier. I think this coaster was supposed to be a big thrill ride, but I think it was supposed to be an enjoyable thrill ride. And I think Kings Island did a very, very good job doing that task. Sometimes pure fun can be better than intensity. Yes, I said it. I mean, heck, how rare is it that a coaster has a 300 plus foot drop, goes 90 plus mile per hour, and gives that much airtime? I'm not going to complain about that. That's an awesome experience. I'm so grateful that this is in my home park. In fact, the second day I went to ride it in 2020, I actually got to marathon it about 16 plus times in my last 2 hours of my visit. And that was just ridiculously fun. I gained such an appreciation for it that day. Not that I didn't have one already, but I just loved it even more after that. Because it's just so awesome. You got to keep going back on it over and over again. It's very re-rideable. Just at speed, airtime, it's not super intense, so it doesn't wear you out. This is an awesome roller coaster. I absolutely adore those B&M clamshells too. They're very, very, very comfortable. And if you get space, you can hold them up and you can get tons and tons of airtime, and it will make your experience that much better. Orion is a very comfortable ride experience. It does not beat you up at all. It's butter smooth. It is what I like to consider a kick butt roller coaster. So what am I giving Orion for a final score? I'm giving Orion a perfect 100 out of 100. When you look at it in terms of how good of a roller coaster it is as a standalone, this coaster was knocked out of the park. This ride, for one thing, is beautiful to look at, has awesome theming, it's very attractive to the general public and coaster enthusiasts, so you want both crowds there, gives amazing, comfortable rides, and lastly, gets amazing reviews. Everyone loves this coaster. Maybe some coaster enthusiasts don't like it as much as others, but I've never, ever heard one person get off and say, that was a bad roller coaster. No, it's all been good. This ride is a 100% major success, especially to fill the shoes of Firehawk and Vortex. Heck, this ride's even fun to take pictures of and film. Well, that's everything I've got in Orion. Let me know down in the comments below if you share any opinions or disagree with me in anything. I'd love to hear some feedback. Also, let me know in the comments down below, what are your general thoughts about the ride? Is it the best ride at Kings Island? Is it the best ride in Ohio? Is it the best Giga coaster? Etc, etc. With that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Keep God number one, and we'll see you guys next time here at Christian Coasters, where we make epic coaster vlogs and videos. Peace!